Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Elisa Ruffin with Leading Educators, and you are on the Grade 11 ELA Unit 6 video series. We are in week 9, and today we are going to begin lesson 43. This week we started the story The Man to Send Rain Clouds, and so far you've already done a first read of the text in 2 parts, completing annotations, a concept vocabulary chart, and a summary. You've also done a close read in 2 parts, completing annotations, responding to questions, and writing in response to some reflection questions. And today you are going to begin your analysis of the text using annotations from all of the work that you've done and respond to some questions and do some reflecting. But before you get going with all of that, make sure that you remember that when you're done with activities for today, you're going to share your learning with a family member, caregiver, or friend, complete the weekly fluency activity using a page from the text, and do an additional 20 minutes of reading from a text of your choice. Also remember that we've got to solve this riddle of the day, right? So you know that we're doing a mashup of word association and picture decoding, and I hope you really enjoyed it. You also know that today is going to be a doozy because I warned you all week that we were building towards something big. So make sure you gather everyone around and they've got their best thinking caps on. And if you're doing this alone, that you take multiple deep breaths, because today is the day of the big one. Are we ready? Okay, here we go with our 4 pictures of today. I am going to give a hint, so if you do not like hints or spoilers, this is the point where you pause. This is a 7-letter word. And so right away, this may have already shattered what your first thoughts were. Got that? The answer for today, folks, is conceal. Conceal. All right. What do you think about that? Now, you may have been thinking one thing, but as soon as I put up 7 letters, you said, well, that can't be it. And if you look at one of these clues, it can kind of send you in the right direction. All right, so hopefully you got that one. You enjoyed the additional challenge today and the mashup. Let's move on to make sure we've got our resources for today. You need the text The Man to Send Rain Clouds. You need your learning packet, week 9, lesson 43 note catcher. A pen or pencil and a smartphone or mobile device is optional. Also keep in mind our background information. That came in handy last time. All right, so author Leslie Marmon Silko, and remember that this particular text focuses on the historical colonial relationship between the Spanish Catholic Church and the Pueblo people, keeping in mind that the text does not take place or is not set during that time. However, the people who are in this text are likely descended from those individuals from the first encounter, and that really does shape their interactions. This is why background information is so important. And you responded to some reflection questions about that yesterday. Other important questions that you guys have been wrestling with. What do stories reveal about the human condition? That's our Unit 6 essential question. And the guiding question for this text, what role does power and authority play in the human condition? You tackled that question in your closing section yesterday. I hope you had some really good conversation about it. It's a really deep question, and I think a fun one to talk about. Our learning targets for lesson 43, I can evaluate the thoughts, feelings, and actions of the characters in the story, and I can connect the plot and theme of the story to the essential question and theme of the unit. So we're moving from observation to evaluation here. You've already been identifying and explaining the theme, so now you're going to make connections between the theme, plot, and the essential question. Our read, think, talk, write, close protocol and routine will still be done today. You're going to skim through the story again and think about what do the characters do to manage the tension that exists between those two cultures. And then you're going to talk about with a family member, caregiver, or friend the following question: what do you think the holy water represents in this story? The holy water is another point in the story where a lot of action takes place and a huge conversation. So what do you think that particular item means? You're going to, in the right section, identify 3 places in the text that reflect the tension between the two cultures, and then close today by responding to the question, what aspect of the human condition does the story, The Man to Send Rain Clouds, reflect? Being sure to cite evidence from the story to support your point of view. So I'm going to walk you through all of the components of today's read, think, talk, write routine to make sure you know where to start to find the information, how to think about some things. Let's start with our think section today, shall we? So the think section has you discussing and thinking about what do you think the characters do to manage the tension that exists between their two cultures? And so in order to respond to that question, you can start with your annotations from the conversation between Leon and Father Paul. And we'll take a moment and look at those. And then, what do you think the holy water represents in this story? Cite evidence from the text to support your answer. So the key word here is represents. So anytime we use that term in the context of literature, we're really talking about symbolism there. And so it focuses on the idea that there are symbols in the story that represent either ideas, qualities, or themes. And so at this point, you've identified some ideas, messages, and themes already. So of some of the ideas or themes that you have identified, what could the holy water more closely represent there? You also need to be thinking about the circumstances surrounding the holy water and how it was used by the priest and how it was used by Leon. So to help refresh your memory about the information from the Think and Talk section, let's go back to the passage from yesterday and the annotations we made. So remember, we put some quotation marks in the back and forth between the priest and Leon. And we talked a little bit about how this reminded me of a negotiation, in that you have two parties that have tension or competing interests, and either one party or both parties are going to compromise, or one won't. Okay. And we circled Leon's response here, in that once the father provides his response to Leon's request, Leon doesn't even respond to the father's response, and instead prepares himself to leave. And so our reaction was that Leon's reaction and willingness to leave without directly responding to the priest's point implies he's not willing to compromise or negotiate or beg. Okay. Whether the priest will help or won't help at the moment, we don't know, but Leon is not willing to compromise or beg in this endeavor. We don't know if he's angry. It doesn't indicate that, but at the very least, we know that he's holding his ground. Okay. So now that we've reviewed through those annotations that we made yesterday, you should be better equipped to march through that think and talk. Okay. Now, as you move on, it is going to be your turn for the read, think, and talk. And you are going to, again, use those annotations to take you through what do the characters do to manage the tension that exists between the two cultures, and then discuss with your family member, caregiver, or friend the following question: what do you think the holy water represents in the story? You're going to also move on to the right section and identify 3 places in the text that reflects the tension of the two cultures, and we've already been through one of those. So by revisiting our annotations from yesterday, I've already given you one place in the text where that tension is kind of front and center. So start there, and again, revisit your annotations from your first and your close read, and that will help you tremendously. And then in your closing for today, what aspect of the human condition does the story The Mantis in Rain Clouds reflect? Remember, the human condition are thoughts, experiences, behaviors that humans share in common, that we have in common. All right. So based on that, what are some aspects of the human condition that the mantis in rain clouds reflect? And you have plenty of notes in your annotations to be able to respond to that. Even responses that you make to the questions posed in today's activity will help you respond to that closer. Okay. So read, think, talk, write. It's your turn to do that. If you have any additional questions, you can pause this video and replay as many times as necessary. And if you need any additional help or support, make sure you email your teacher for that support using the information provided. Also, please do not forget that you need to make sure that you're sharing your learning with a family member, caregiver, or friend, that you're completing the weekly fluency activity using a page from the text, and you're doing an additional 20 minutes of reading a day of a text of your choice. All right. So you're going to go back and complete that read, think, talk, write, and begin your analysis of the text. We have wrapped up our lessons for the week, and we'll continue our time with the mantis in rain clouds next time. You have earned yourself a little break, so you enjoy that after you complete your lesson activities and your 3 wrap-up activities for today of sharing your learning, weekly fluency activity, and some additional reading. Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen.